Hi, welcome to Edward Box Guitar Tuition. So my classic album inspection today is Steve Vai's second solo album, Passion and Warfare. This was released May the 22nd, 1990, so he's 35 years old today. It's difficult to overestimate the anticipation for this release at the time. Vai, by this point, was a massive brand in guitar. He'd been paid $1 million to do the Whitesnake album, Slip of the Tongue, and the tour. He got really big with David Roth, but perhaps more importantly, he developed the RG 550 shape for Ibanez, and that went from the basic model all the way through to his Gem series and his top of the range floral Gem. And by this point, again, those were like becoming the really popular guitar of the time. So, yeah, what's this album like? Well, we'd already heard a track off it. We didn't know it at the time, called Blue Powder. So this was released as part of a flexi disc for Guitar Player to demonstrate Doug Carvin amps. But Vi had been working on this album since after Flexible, but kind of put it on the shelf because he'd done his work with Alcatraz. And then, of course, David Lee Roth. So I'm guessing he built up quite a bit of material by the time it arrived. It makes extensive use of an Eventide harmonizer at times. It's got like lots of vocal samples, vocal effects, but it is a full instrumental album. And this comes really at the tail end of the big thing. It's quite interesting. Vi's not in there early. This comes right at the end of all those Shrapnel albums, and Joe Satriani had achieved big success with his Surfing with Alien Al Man's Flying in a Blue Dream album. So, yeah, based on that, this album still did immensely well due to Vi's standing. It sold, I think it's gold in America, it says 850,000 copies sold here, which I say is probably about right. So over 1 million copies. It made the top 10 in the UK, made number 8. And this is mad for not only an instrumental guitar album, but one that is so kind of esoteric and challenging. So this has got 14 tracks on it, it's 53 minutes long. I remember when it came out, it had a pretty cool glossy inner sleeve. Cover looked really cool, got it first day release. So it opens with Liberty. This is like his version of a kind of national anthem. It's like an anthem for space, I suppose, or some kind of other planet. 2 minutes 3. This is really good. It's got lots of multi-track guitars in the style of Brian May. And then it's got lots of vocal samples throughout. Now, what I should say is I'm not massive on all the kind of vocal samples on this album. I just find them, it's kind of the gimmicky thing of the time. It's quite a popular thing for bands and artists to put vocal samples in things at the start of songs. I was in a band, we ended up doing that, putting a vocal sample at the start. I've done stuff in music where I've had kind of vocal, kind of sound effects in the middle, like news reports, and that more like a Queensryche thing. I think that sounds cool. But on this, he has David Coverdale doing spoken bits. He has Adrian Vandenberg, I think, and so on. So there's, between every song, he gets his old kid school teacher in as well. But I'm not totally into it, but it gives the album a theme. Okay, so next track up is Erotic Nightmares. This is a really good track. It's got a great riff. Try playing it. You'll have to hit an upstroke on that A5. It's really cool. This is a really great track, actually. And there's always stuff going on. It's exciting. Often Steve will kind of trade off with himself. We kind of have a part, and another part will come across. So that's good. And it breaks down into the middle into a kind of really cool bit where it's like he's having a nightmare. I should just say this album's based on dreams that Vi had. Yeah, I don't really understand all that, but anyway. Then the next one after that's The Animal. This is good. This has got a really dirty riff where he's kind of, whether he's tracked the harmony in fifths or he's used a harmonizer. I think he might have used a harmonizer. It kind of gives it a kind of... it gives an artificial sound that's good. It's kind of like that Trevor Rabin thing when you hear him use a harmonizer. This is good. He does a great solo in the middle. He goes a bit funky, a bit jazzy. He does a nice outside line, which is Vi does very well. So the first 3 tracks off the bat are really good. The next track, Answers, is I'm less into this, but it's pretty decent. He uses that little melody, and he actually uses that on Alcatraz solo and Disturbing the Peace. And if you go back and listens to Steve Vai's stuff, starting with Flexible, but also Disturbing the Peace, one of the things you realise is actually kind of test running licks there and ideas that won't appear on Eat 'em Smile as such, but maybe some, but there's ideas that'll come certainly on this album. Then you've got the riddle. This is kind of like a Lydian jam with a really low bass. It kind of heavies up at the end. I think my criticism of this track is it's cool. It's about 6 minutes 24 though, so it's a little long for me. Then you've got Ballerina 12:24. So this really is to demonstrate the capabilities of the Eventide harmonizer. I'm not sure what he's playing because he's got this crazy sort of high octave effect. It's hard to describe the sound. It's almost like vari-speed, you know. It's as if you slowed down the tape player, played something and then played it back, speed it up. It's pretty amazing. So the Eventide harmonizer was the first intelligent harmonizer, or the first really good one. So an intelligent harmonizer, what it does is it tracks every note in key. So harmonizers before that, you got multi-effects. And what passive multi-effects then could only harmonise in fifths or thirds, and they do what's called parallel harmony. So that means every note's harmonised by exactly the same interval: a minor third, a major third, a perfect fifth. But intelligent harmonizer will track whether it should be a minor or major third at whatever point it's given in the key. It worked on a major scale, major key format. So for instance, if you want to harmonise in A minor, you would program it for C major. Sorry people who don't understand music theory speak. Again, this track, I mean, it's interesting. I'm not wild on it. Then you got For the Love of God. So this is the classic. This is like one of the sort of classic instrumental guitar tracks of all time. It's up there. Obviously, he's got that really cool kind of sit-out, slow, epic melody, really nice melodic transition. His playing gets really epic on this, and the video for this was epic. He kind of goes up into the mountains. He got a beard, and it's all sort of mystical. I remember about that time, actually, that was one of his sort of final kind of front covers in his peak period was Guitar World, and it was kind of like via the last interview. One of the last guitar magazines I've got, I think. After that era, you didn't get the kind of guitar players I liked on the front of stuff. But I remember Vi was sort of, I think he'd been a bit overexposed by then, if I'm honest. It's kind of that thing where someone gets really big and really popular, the knives are out. Vi was incredibly hard-working, that's the thing. I don't think he's got, the chops of some other players at the time. I don't think he's got the soulfulness, but he's very original. He's got his own sound, but he's fucking hard-working, and he understood the kind of the business acumen of this thing. It's one thing to play well, but you've got to be able to market yourself, and you've got to be able to connect with people. And I think he's a fit and healthy guy. So he really exploited every aspect and every facet he could. This, I should say, was recorded at his own home studio. So obviously with his money made from Daily Roth, he reinvested in himself. He recorded Flexible at a basic home studio, but this he actually had a pretty big property. He calls it the Mothership. I'm guessing he still records there now. Next up is The Audience Is Listening. Now, this is a track with his school teacher on, and you'll maybe remember Thomas McLaughlin being in the video, being a mini Vi. I don't really like this track. I can see the kind of fun element of it. It's kind of like Steve Vai's in primary school, and he's going to show off to the class, but I'm just not massive on the song. But this is just my viewpoint. I think the next track's a kind of hidden gem. It's I Would Love To. This is just a really nice kind of Van Halen-esque majory Mixolydian rocker. He plays a lovely melody, really nice solo. This track's kind of one of the most uncomplicated tracks in Army. It's the one that's just kind of about just doing a pure kind of enjoyable guitar track. Then you got Blue Powder. Obviously this is off the aforementioned flexi disc. I'm guessing he remixed it for this. Really good this, a really nice mix of clean, of funkiness. It's got that insane ending where he's kind of doing the crazy whammy where, if you pull the Ibanez whammy back far enough, it will kind of fret out on the strings and make that kind of squeaky cat noise. That's the mad thing. Actually, just backtracking at the start of The Audience Is Listening, it's very funny when the teacher's talking to him and Steve's playing with his guitar, because he goes, he just little laughs, and it had a great sense of humour vibe. I think he sort of took that from Halen. They got Greasy Kid stuff. It's quite funny intro to this is one spoken because he's talking about the mix. 258. Again, this is a simple track. It's all about fun, about energy. So it's one of my, I think it's one of the better tracks on the album. I really like this. Then you've got Alien Water Kiss, which is just sort of Eventide harmonizer effects. Sisters. This is obviously a big track off the album, Sisters. It's a nice mellow track. I never loved it as much. He kind of just really nice chords, and it's kind of Hendrixy double stop type lead on a clean sound. But I do like it. I just wasn't into it as much as maybe other people. It was the sort of thing people playing in guitar shops was listening to Statch Boogie, you know, or Midnight. Then you've got Love Secrets. Again, this is quite a lot of sonic soundscapes, Eventide harmonizer. I'm not really fussed about it. I mean, this kind of fairly veers from the guitar instrumental format. It's more like something you'd find Flexible or even Flexible Leftovers. So, I mean, for me, I think this album's a 7 out of 10. You know, in many ways, it is sort of a masterpiece. It's just not all of it totally appeals to me. At the time, I was really into it initially, and then I kind of withdrew back a bit from it, and I was kind of like, well, actually, I like these bits, and I'm not as keen on these bits. And that's how it's always been written. I think, you know, I could do without Laylee and Waterkiss and Love Secrets. You know, those two could go. And then that would make the album shorter and tighten up a bit. I think it's better when the songs are a bit short and more direct. That's probably why I like Erotic Nightmares, The Animal, I Would Love To, Blue Powder, Greasy Kid stuff a lot. For the Love of God obviously benefits from being epic, but you know, maybe a few shorter songs, but that's just my viewpoint. But there's no doubt this is like the last big guitar instrumental album. Satriani, the Extremists did pretty well. I think that was gold, but that was kind of more on the back of Flying a Blue Dream and Surfing Alien doing well. This was like the peak of Vibe, it was the peak of that era of guitar. And the next year, you know, it would start to fade, and obviously music changed. You know, it's that thing. It's kind of 80s shred. It's kind of like 80s excess, I suppose. And this is, you know, Vibe by this point, his guitars, the imagery of his guitars, the album, the clothes he wore, everything, the amount he was paid for the Whitesnake tour, the album, you know, it's all part of that excess thing. But I think it's testament of Vibe that the RG 550 shape is still carried on, and you still get the gem guitar selling. You know, he's not, you know, of his time. He's you know, he's carried on as one of the greats. I think his last album was his best for a while, and he's gone his own way. You know, once he'd kind of done the Whitesnake Roth thing, he's financially independent enough just to do what he wanted to, and he's always been experimental, and just make a massive amount of albums, but you know, just takes his time. So anyway, that's my review of Passion and Warfare by Steve Vai. 35 years old today. So remember to share and subscribe. Before I finish, I should just say some of Vai's playing's fucking stunning on this. You know, it is stunning. You know, I've kind of done it down a bit. What I was going to say as well is, like, I would call this cosmic Steve Vai. What I mean by that, it's got all the big harmonies and extra tracks. The Daily Roth and the Crossroads is the plug-in straight in Steve Vai, and that's what I really love. But I think this is more than what Steve Vai wants to be and wanted to be. So anyway, I've interjected to my own ending then. So remember to share and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks very much.